my study is focused on the perception and representation of spaces for people who reported stories of childhood abuse. And as a consequence of these, I'm observing how mixed method approach can develop trauma-informed anthropological practices and foster, eventually, a compassionate educational environment. So let's delve into the topic. Now, from a methodological point of view, my research, grounded in cultural anthropology, utilizes qualitative interviews, on-site observations, and visual ethnography over 1 year, and it is nearing completion. My current fieldwork involves a group of 30 individuals, ranging in age from 18 to 55, who are survivors of child abuse, and half of these people also experience one or more forms of diagnosed disability. So participants emphasized that actively participating in co-authoring ethnography is helping them externalize and process their trauma in shaping their understanding of and interaction with environments. This is why I'm currently analyzing how CSA survivors with disabilities reclaim their spaces. And for this, today I'm discussing how these people use verbal and non-verbal communication to navigate their homes. So here are the preliminary findings. First, a statement, because while not all survivors experience feelings of shame, well, many do. And, these feelings can persist over, for years, even for decades, impacting all areas of their lives. Moreover, for some of them, the combined effects of a visible or invisible disability with the consequence of a childhood trauma exacerbate, such a state. However, I dare say that our disclosure during the one-to-one interviews was eased by the fact that they and I share the critical aspect of the research, since I'm a survivor myself and they knew it from the beginning. In addition, since dealing with the effects of trauma is often an intimate and secret task, I encourage them to keep a record of their experience in the home. And by using this practice of self-narrative, they gained confidence in knowing the rituals and found the words or images that you will see later to describe them. Here's an example of how visual ethnography may empower survivors by allowing them to visually document and narrate their experiences. See this picture, for instance. The participant who drew this sketch uses the word divano, which stands for couch in English, and the word is used compulsively, So she's reluctant to sit on couches, and when forced by circumstances, she acts out her rituals. So this is the visual representation of what she feels. Then, while this is a record in itself, such a source is not only useful for research purposes only, but is also a tool that this individual can use to frame her discomfort with the spatial experiences. And then to this end, a trauma-informed anthropological inquiry can gain more insights into the spatial experience of CSA survivors through the analysis of verbal and nonverbal communication. And this includes how language helps them express, process, and cope with, just this case, their trauma within their spaces. And this also shows that language plays a crucial role in mapping out safe and unsafe spaces. That's why I encouraged them participating in the creation of, verbal maps of their environments, detailing which areas are associated with safety or danger, and explain why. So what I noticed is that visual narratives help them externalize and process their trauma in a way that complements their verbal expressions. For instance, several of the respondents with obsessive compulsive disorders stated that they had reduced their incidence of OCD at home once they had mapped out the areas of the house where reliance on rituals was typically more frequent. So, developing trauma-informed anthropological practices entails a comprehensive approach to how trauma memories reverberate across the life course of survivors. And with regard to the narratives collected during my ethnography, people highlighted how specific spatial arrangements, sensory elements, and previous aspects, of course, can trigger memories or trauma, or conversely, contribute to a sense of security and healing. And now, by integrating qualitative methods, visual ethnography, and sensitivity, of course, to intersectional identities, anthropologists can contribute to supportive environments and policies that promote healing, agency, and empowerment. And all of this holistic approach, not only, of course, informs academic inquiry, but advocates for inclusive and compassionate responses within social, policy, and educational frameworks. And so when interviewing participants, that's what I observed, a large range of statements, behaviors, experiences, emerge and shed light on their unique challenges and coping strategies within their spaces. And here are some examples based on the discussed themes. As you can see, first, spatial triggers and avoidance, because people might physically react to certain areas of their homes, such as avoiding looking at or entering specific rooms. And you can see that. Participants also demonstrate proactive measures to enhance safety and control within their living space, reflecting adaptive strategies to mitigate anxiety or fear. And I also noticed that a number of individuals also expressed emotional reactions tied to specific objects or spatial configuration within their homes, highlighting the emotional complexity of their spatial experiences. And finally, most participants acknowledge that personalizing specific areas of their homes enhances comfort and control. That's why participants are also co-author, in a way, of my research, because that showed that co-authoring ethnography is serving as a tool to express freely their emotional connections to different areas. In practical terms, visual ethnography is offering a tangible lens to understand survivor experience of space. So the use of photo, the introduction of video tools, the spatial mapping, all of these enrich the data and provides a vibrant and tangible dimension to the survivor stories. And for me, this participatory approach contributed to more authentic representation of their experiences, empowering survivors, and I dare say myself. Actually, these has impacted my research methodology too, because balancing my role as an ethnographer and my own story has been challenging, particularly in terms of maintaining objectivity while being emotionally invested. So reflective practices and journaling, in my case, have also been invaluable, in processing my feelings and ensuring they enhance rather than hinder my research. So I'd suggest adopting visual ethnography while considering, at the same time, one's positionality and, of course, biases. And then, in the light of my fieldwork experience, I have thrown up a series of recommendations for those conducting ethnography with a group of similar participants. For any such project, as you already know, of course, it may seem obvious that confidentiality is paramount, but it's not that meant to be for them. So the informed consent form must clearly outline the research process, allowing them to withdraw at any time and without consequence. This is important to know because some of them may have experienced legal action. Others may not even have spoken to their partners about the trauma. And so it's crucial to let them know. Again, interviews take place in the homes. That's my case. They took place in the homes. So you may seem intrusive at the beginning if you don't behave like them. So ask about their idea of a safe space and go along with it in order to conduct observations in comfortable settings, respecting cultural norms, of course, as you already know. But I also added the cleanliness etiquette, such as avoiding wearing shoes in the home because they may prevent asking because of embarrassment or shame, as I was saying before. But for many, entering the bathroom with shoes on can be very intrusive. So sensitivity to environmental triggers is essential. So pay close attention to body language and emotional responses when discussing or entering or exiting different areas of the home. Because at the end of the day, it seems that handling parts of the house is the same of touching their body too. So when resorting to trauma-informed interviews, ask open-ended questions, practice active listening, and, as I was saying, be mindful of non-verbal cues. Obviously, keeping these codes in mind is important because although your conversation recorded, a camera might not detect this kind of signals. And that's why you can incorporate visual and participatory methods to capture their spatial experiences. So verbal mapping and participant-led documentation, as far as my research showed me, all of these can follow customized markings and display evidence that can be traced back to that body language I was talking about earlier. So engage with visual materials provided by participants and encourage them to reflect on how these narratives impact their understanding of their spaces. And finally, ethical considerations, as you know, are critical. So provide or recommend emotional support resources, but at the same time, for you, as ethnographers, regular sessions with a trained therapist are also recommended. And when analyzing data with a trauma-informed lens, consider the context of participants' experiences and the interplay of at least physical, emotional, and social dimensions. So as you return to the home, observe physical or sensory modification made to create safer environments and involve participants in interpreting the data to enhance accuracy and relevance. So please don't underestimate the extent of your findings. That's why I suggest to develop practical recommendations so that we can share and mutually increase in our shared knowledge, integrate those practices into educational settings. It's very crucial at whatever degree, and advocate for policies that recognize and support their specific needs. To summarize all of these, this whole approach not only enhances the quality of your research, but also contributes to the development of supportive and healing environments because, at the end of the day, the goal is to bring better and lasting conditions to everyone. And as I don't have the chance to engage with you live today, you can learn more and stay in touch by visiting my website or social media channels where I try to spread a word on the subject. So please, let's strive to make spaces safer and more supportive for everyone. And now, if you're feeling comfortable, take part in this whole debate with kindness. And thank you so much for your attention. Bye.